Enes Kanter, the center for the Boston Celtics, called out Nike this week on social media for ignoring human rights violations by China. So let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Dear Nike, your company says that you are making a positive impact in our communities. And that is true. Yes, you are. Here in the United States, Nike stands with the Black Lives Matter. Nike stands with Stop Asian Hate. Nike stands with the Latino community. And Nike stands with the LGBTQ community. And Nike remains vocal about injustice here in America. But when it comes to China, Nike remains silent. You do not address police brutality in China. You do not speak about discrimination against the LGBTQ community. You do not say a word about the oppression of minorities in China. You are scared to speak up. Who makes your shoes in China? Do you even know? There are so many forced labor factories in China. For instance, Uyghur forced labor in modern day slavery, and it is happening right now in China. Millions of Uyghurs are currently detained, sold, and assigned to work at forced labor camps, prisons, and factories across the country. They are under constant surveillance with long working hours and poor living conditions. They are subject to political re-education. They have no freedom of expression, no freedom of religion, and they are not even able to leave. Did you know that almost the entire apparel and footwear industry is tainted by Uyghur forced labor? Many well-known global brands are implicated, and yes, that includes the one of the NBA's biggest sponsors, Nike. Nike claims that they do not allow any forced labor in their supply chains. Yet, they don't have the receipt to prove it. They have not publicly committed to cutting ties with the Chinese government's labor transfer regime. They have not provided clear timelines or updates about their efforts to end this. They have not publicly committed to the steps outlined by the coalition to end Uyghur forced labor. Don't forget, every time you put those shoes on your feet or you put that t-shirt on your back, there are so many tears and so much oppression and so much blood behind it all. Nike likes to say, just do it. Well, what are you doing about the slave labor that makes your shoes? That slave labor that makes you rich? To the owner of Nike, Phil Knight, I have a message for you. How about I book a plane tickets for us? Let's fly to China together. We can try to visit these slave labor camps, and you can see it with your own eyes. LeBron James and Michael Jordan, you guys are welcome to come too. Nike must be a participant in this. Stop with hypocrisy. Stop the modern day slavery now.
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. So big words by Enes Kanter there,
Wow.
and obviously he did not mince words. He did not mince people's names when he mentioned them, and he called out everyone. He called out Nike. He even, to an extent, called out the NBA, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and everyone associated with the brand. So my question to you guys is, after hearing that, is he right, and is it really hypocritical of companies like Nike to use this type of forced labor for their shoes? Brooks, why don't we start with you?
So yes, he's right in calling out Nike for, I mean, and this is like historical fact, the fact that they've always been practicing really bad labor things just with their workers, and in terms of just forcing them to do long hours, even child labor. I mean, and that in itself is one of the worst evils to inflict not only China but America at one point too. So yeah, I mean, they should definitely be called out. It's just, if the NBA and Nike weren't going to succumb to pressure last year, they're not going to do it this year with Enes Kanter saying anything too. I mean, Enes Kanter is really in the spotlight politically just because, you know, he's calling out Nike, he's calling out Kyrie for being unvaccinated. I mean, he's doing everything he can to just like be in a really good position. and this is after he got basically excommunicated, I guess you could say, from Turkey.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole lot going on, and I mean, kudos to him for uh exercising, I guess, his right to speech and all that. I don't know. It's a little above my head as far as just everything else going on, but yeah, he has a right to call him out because again, you shouldn't be. That's the. I mean, this is gonna get like a little
No,
philosophical.
please. Yeah, please go
Philosophical.
ahead.
Philosophical.
Philosophical.
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
Thanks for having my back, Pedro. I appreciate you, bro.
Got you. I got you, bro.
But like when you're a billion-dollar corporation like that, you're of course gonna end up stepping on somebody's back to make sure you get all that money. And Nike isn't above anybody else, even if they do support Black lives, even if they do support the LGBT community, even if they do support Latino lives, all of that. They're not above anybody else. We see that every July, every company has a rainbow flag, and then as soon as August hits, the flag is gone. All the pro LGBT community messaging is gone too. So it's maybe like a flavor of the month thing. So I mean,
Absolutely.
kudos again to him, and I hope that Nike does try to do something different. But I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. Dro, what
Yeah.
about you?
Enes Kanter, big salute to him for speaking his mind and not being afraid of what's to come, because I can only imagine the kind of messaging that he's getting after saying those things and mentioning the names that he mentioned. He has absolutely every right to say what he's feeling and to shine light on these situations. He's always been a guy who is outspoken. He's again politically active, like Brooks said, and he knows what's going on. He understands that people like him that are in the position that he's in terms of status and stuff like that, that they get taken advantage of, and that there's a lot more that goes into the things that we consume than we would imagine at first. Enes Kanter, definitely salute for speaking up. Like I said, just having the conviction to say what he said. And again, I think he's not wrong about the things he's saying either. But I'm also not gonna knock anybody for not speaking. On certain. It depends on who it is. Some people. It's like there's certain players that don't have the same kind of pull or the same kind of influence on the masses, right? Where they could probably just go and hoop. The bigger guys, I can understand when they get upset. Oh, LeBron didn't talk about China, etc. I understand the criticism there, but
I think it
it
comes.
is what it is.
Yeah, I think it comes with kind of like knowing what's going on, and I think this is like the first step
Having
of
a lot
that.
less to lose too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and just one thing I want to say about Enes Kanter and like what he's said here. There's a lot of pressure too. I think one thing that people kind of understate or don't talk about is like the pressure, that the NBA's relationship with China and everything, and Nike's relationship obviously with China. There's a lot of pressure for him not to say stuff like this. Like I think Pedro said, like he's probably going to get messages, he's probably going to get directives, possibly even from the NBA to, hey, tone it down. But one thing that Enes Kanter, is definitely not is afraid. We've found that out very much over the past number of years. And, the reason I kind of wanted to include this, because I know we do a lot of laughs on the show and all that kind of stuff, is because I think there's a point where sports, and culture, society, all this stuff, it mixes. And I think, it's important for us to have that context when talking about sports and, the things we enjoy, like Nike shoes. I love Nike shoes. I think we all love Nike shoes. And I think if we all love the shoes, if we love the NBA, one thing that we should always be trying to do is, how can we make what we love already, better? And I think that's what Enes Kanter's point is. And there's a lot of people who are going to probably try to be like, oh, well, Enes Kanter, he's just out there for the clout, or he's just out there, to be provocative. And he's gotten a little bit of that criticism over the past few days. But, one thing I know specifically about this situation, Enes Kanter, is it's something that affects him directly because, with if we're being real, like what China is doing to the Uyghur Muslim population over there, it's not great. Not only are they being put in forced labor camps, it's almost an ethnic genocide. I believe there is like actually some human rights organization that have classified as that. And I think the overall messaging is from Enes Kanter. Let's learn about what's going on and like let's see how we can make things better. And I think that's something in sports, in life, in culture, we always got to strive to be.
And I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's-
Go ahead, Brooks.
Go ahead, Pedro.
No, go. You got it.
Brooks,
No,
it's on
well, I
you.
was just gonna say the fact that or it's just surprising again that Boston Celtics games got removed from Chinese broadcasts, and there isn't a wave of criticism from anybody as far as wow, or like from I guess like Chinese media, like how dare they, how dare Enes Kanter say these rude things or these controversial things about our government, blah blah blah. And last year, they were up the Rockets' butt as far as what Daryl Morey said and what James Harden declined to say and what LeBron James declined to say. And I think it's because Enes Kanter is being very critical of China and then how they're treating Uyghur Muslims and all these different things. Like we believe and we know these things to be true. So it's interesting that they're not being as defensive as they were last year, and I don't know why that is.
Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.